On a day, the New York Times carried an article on its front page of the AAP government's success in improving government schools in Delhi, an initiative that was spearheaded by Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. Just hours later, the CBI swooped down on Mr. Sisodia, raiding his home in Delhi for 12 hours and counting. Those raids are still continuing at 31 locations across 7 states. The CBI's FIR, accessed by NDTV, has claimed Delhi's policy for licensing liquor shops in Delhi is riddled with corruption. It names Sisodia as the first accused, along with several others, including former excise officials. Now, just to remind you of the background to all of this, in November last year, AAP had scrapped the public-private partnership model of liquor shops, making it all private. By July this year, there were many allegations of revenue losses. There were questions raised by the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. The AAP, on the back foot, scrapped the policy and brought in a new one. Well, today, these raids also saw AAP supporters on the streets of the national capital in front of Mr. Sisodia's house. All right, lots to talk about our reporters joining us at this point with all the various elements to this story that is now becoming so much more than just a face-off between the AAP and the BJP. Now, Arvind joining us with the latest on these raids and what they've unearthed so far. Arvind, you've looked at the CBI's FIR. The raids are still continuing. They began at 8 o'clock this morning. That in itself, the fact that it's carried on for 12 hours. What's the latest you're hearing?
Yeah, Ankita, CBI searches in connection with this Delhi liquor policy case began at around 8 a.m. When the searches began, it was only 21 locations across 7 states. But as we speak, almost 31 locations, that is 10 more new locations are also being searched by the Central Bureau of Investigation. And as we speak, after 12 hours of searches, the searches are still underway and almost 31 locations are still being searched by the Central Bureau of Investigation. This also includes Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, that's Manish Sisodia's residence. So here also CBI officials reached here, a team of 7 CBI officials reached here at around 8 a.m. It's already over 12 hours and searches are still underway. So what we are being told is that as we speak, the team of CBI officials, they are recording, they are taking a copy of the digital record. So his email dump is also being taken by the Central Bureau of Investigation officials, and that's why our sources say it's taking quite a bit time when it comes to the search operation that is being carried here at the residence of Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. Our sources say among these 31 locations that were searched by the Central Bureau of Investigation, no cash recovery has been made, but very importantly, CBI has seized a confidential official file relating to the excise policy from one of the public servants' residence, which they are not revealing the identity of that particular public servant. But what they are saying is that that particular file was not supposed to be at the residence of this officer, and because it was found at the residence of the officer, that's why CBI has seized that particular document. So that's one incriminating material that they have seized from one of the public servants. But here at the residence of Manish Sisodia, what we are being told is that this particular search operation will take some more time to complete, and only after the completion of the search we'll get to know. And this is a detailed report on the CBI's action today.
All right, let's...
Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, as his residence was searched by the CBI from early this morning in connection with the alleged Delhi liquor policy scam. It was one of over 31 locations the CBI searched across 7 states, including 3 officers. Arvind Kejriwal alleged political vendetta by the BJP-led central government and linked it to this, a New York Times front page report on the turnaround in Delhi schools under Sisodia's leadership.
पिछले 7 साल में भी कोई आसान काम नहीं था न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के फ्रंट पेज पे आना और दिल्ली के अंदर शिक्षा क्रांति करना। पिछले 7 साल में भी मनीष जी के ऊपर न जाने कितनी बार रेड हुई है। ये पहली रेड नहीं है, पहले भी कई बार रेड कर चुके, कई झूठे केस कर चुके मनीष जी के ऊपर, मेरे ऊपर कई बार रेड कर चुके, सतिंदर जैन पे, कैलाश गहलोत पे, हमारे कितने लोगों पे ये लोग रेड कर चुके, कुछ नहीं मिला, अभी भी कुछ नहीं मिलेगा।
CBI sources say the searches at 31 locations resulted in no cash recovery, but the agency has seized official confidential files relating to excise policy of the Delhi government, which were not supposed to be at the residence of the public servant.
The raids quickly escalated into a clash of press conferences and sound bites between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP.
करोड़ों भारतीयों के दिलों में अपनी जगह बना रहे अरविंद केजरीवाल जी का बढ़ता राष्ट्रीय स्तर पे कद देख आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी डर गए हैं, घबरा गए हैं। मुझे लगता है जब प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने भी न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स का कल का अखबार पढ़ा होगा तो वो भी परेशान हुए होंगे, उनका भी मन मचला होगा, परेशान हुआ होगा, बड़ी पीड़ा हुई होगी।
भ्रष्टाचारी जितना मर्जी ईमानदारी का चोला पहन ले, वह भ्रष्टाचारी ही रहता है। और आम आदमी पार्टी का भ्रष्टाचार एक बार नहीं कई बार देखने को सामने आया है। आज मुद्दा है शराब के ठेकों का, शराब के ठेकों में हुए भ्रष्टाचार का, और इस विभाग के मंत्री हैं मनीष सिसोदिया जी।
The CBI registered a corruption case against Manish Sisodia and others on a complaint from the office of Delhi's Lieutenant Governor over allegations of irregularities in the new excise policy. The CBI says that the new liquor policy caused a huge loss to the public exchequer. The Aam Aadmi Party counters this by saying that the LG's change of stance led to the loss of crores. The CBI says that ineligible players were awarded retail outlets. The AAP says the LG's liquor policy benefited only some. The CBI alleges that the Aam Aadmi Party received commissions from the liquor mafia. The Aam Aadmi Party has alleged vendetta and says that the raids happened after Sisodia was lauded globally. The CBI says that liquor companies were actively involved in the framing and implementation of the liquor policy and adds that associates of Sisodia collected commission from liquor companies.
After over 12 hours of searches at the residence of Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, CBI sources say that the agency has seized some documents from his residence and very soon the agency will be issuing summons to him to join the investigation.
The new excise policy that was implemented last year had equally distributed licenses for liquor vends across Delhi, completely privatized the liquor business and laid down some ground rules for running liquor shops in the national capital. Akshay Dongre and Arvind Gunashekhar, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
Well, let's go across to Akshay, who is currently at the Aam Aadmi Party's headquarters in the national capital. And Akshay, we saw an absolute press conference blitz today. Both the AAP and the BJP trying to position this story to their own advantage. It's also probably quite a clear indication of what we're likely to see in the run-up to 2024. Could the political rhetoric have gotten any shriller than it did today?
Well, Ankita, when we talk about the political ramification and the upcoming 2024 elections, these kind of raids, and especially what happened today in the national capital, is certainly going to impact the upcoming elections in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat, and the upcoming elections of Lok Sabha in 2024 as well. Now, the reason why we are saying this is because the raids were conducted at the Aam Aadmi Party's leader, at Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister's residence. However, when we talk about the opposition unity, what we saw in the national capital was exactly the opposite of that. The Congress party, which itself was in fact holding protests against what they were calling politicization of central agencies, including the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI, when there was a probe going on in the National Herald case against Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. There were a lot of protests by the Congress party, but today Delhi's Congress chief Anil Chaudhary was welcoming the raids at the residence of Manish Sisodia. In fact, he said that even though the raids are coming late, but he is in fact happy that the raids took place finally as far as the probe is concerned. However, when we talk about the other opposition parties, RJD said that while they are against the politicization of the central agency,
also, we'll talk to
it.
Alok about that as well. But there was an interesting sidelight to all of this, which was of course the whole New York Times article, the Aam Aadmi Party going out of its way to ensure that that was foregrounded. The fact that Manish Sisodia had been praised by the New York Times, that there was global praise for the work of the Delhi government, and that these raids had followed just hours later.
Well, absolutely. That was the talking point as far as the press conference is concerned, because Arvind Kejriwal started with that, then Saurabh Bhardwaj was talking on that. So in the entire Aam Aadmi Party was taking pride in that particular New York Times article. However, there were a lot of BJP leaders who started a campaign on the social media posting a similar article that was published by Khaleej Times, that is a newspaper in Gulf, and that had the same article. However, they failed to mention this one thing, that the Khaleej Times had taken the article exactly as it was on New York Times and had given the New York Times a credit, which is usually a practice in the media. We take articles, or when we take visuals from any other media channel or media agency, we usually give them credit, and that was done by the Khaleej Times as well. They had given credit to the New York Times.
Yeah.
That was a talking point, because the Aam Aadmi Party was taking pride in it, whereas the Bharatiya Janata Party was saying that it was a publicity stunt, it was the work of PR agencies to get that article published in the New York Times front page.
Well, the New York Times now also issuing a clarification that it certainly wasn't paid coverage of any kind at all. But Alok, on that larger point of what this is going to mean for opposition unity in the run-up to 2024, today we saw the Congress and the Akalis training their guns on the Aam Aadmi Party. Other parties who've been at the receiving end of action by central agencies condemning the raids, but also hesitant to come out and support the AAP wholeheartedly. So what are the long-term implications going to be in the battle for 2024?
Well, I think simply put, if I was in the BJP and I was looking at what happened today, and I was wondering whether this opposition, there would be this opposition unity and it would actually translate into something on the ground, maybe I would say that no, it's not going to happen if I were in the BJP. Like you said, I think the only party that unequivocally condemned the raids was the Samajwadi Party. And if you remember, Ankita, Akhilesh Yadav's close party leaders and aides also faced income tax raids right before the Uttar Pradesh election. I remember covering that. And Akhilesh Yadav put out a one-line tweet saying that, using agencies for political vendetta is not right. And a spokesperson of the party said that, look, it's very wrong and these agencies should be given spaces by opposition chief ministers in their homes if they want to do this, etc., etc. But like you said, for instance, the RJD, and Akshay was also referring to this, it said that, look, yes, we will speak in favor of Mr. Kejriwal, but he has to stand up for us if when, opposition parties or politicians are being raided. Similarly, like you said, there were other parties, the Congress, for instance, they said that they were happy with the raids. So did the Shiromani Akali Dal. So if you're talking about a block against the BJP in the lead up to that all crucial 2024 Lok Sabha elections, where so many opposition parties are saying that we are going to put up a fight against the BJP, against Mr. Modi, Mr. Amit Shah, we are going to look at, trying to get this unity in place. How that will happen going by today's example remains to be seen. But I think it's also important for us to listen to what a lot of these opposition politicians said on these raids against Mr. Sisodia, if we can take a look at that package.
स्वास्थ्य और शिक्षा की बात करने वाली सरकार को कहना चाहता हूँ कि दिल्ली कोविड काल में कड़ा रही थी, दिल्ली में मौतें हो रही थी, ऑक्सीजन के लिए तरस रही थी। दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री और शराब मंत्री शराब माफियाओं के साथ बैठकर के शराब नीति बनाने का काम कर रहे हैं, जिसको लेकर के कांग्रेस पार्टी लगातार प्रश्न उठा रही है। स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जेल में जा चुके हैं, कानून मंत्री दो इस्तीफा दे चुके हैं। ये दर्शाता है कि इन पिछले 7-8 सालों में दिल्ली ने बहुत कुछ खोया है, अपनी पहचान खोई है, और कुछ मिला है तो शराब की राजधानी मिली। तो आज ये जो कदम उठाया गया है, मुझे पूर्ण रूप से कानून पर विश्वास है, दोषियों को, भ्रष्टाचारियों को जेल में जाना होगा।
ये महत्वपूर्ण ये है कि आम आदमी पार्टी को भी यह तय करना होगा कि जब विपक्ष के दूसरे नेताओं पर जब छापे पड़ते हों, तब आप भी बोलना सीखिए। आज तो हम बोल रहे हैं ना आपके लिए, लेकिन जब दूसरों पे होता है तो आप चुप्पी साध लेते हैं। तो इस तरह से एकांगी सोच से किसी को कुछ नहीं हासिल होगा। हम सबको एक संदेश देना है कि पॉलिटिकल बैटल पॉलिटिकली लड़िए, जो कि केंद्र में सत्तासीन सरकार नहीं लड़ना चाहती है।
देखो, इस तरह है, ये गल ना जी पहला भी विधान सभा च भी हुई सी, पिछली बारी भी हुई सी कि दिल्ली की पॉलिसी फ्रॉड पॉलिसी है। सरकारी ठेके ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਸਨ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਵੇਟ ਵੱਡੇ ਮੋਨੋਪੋਲੀ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਮੋਨੋਪੋਲੀ ਬਣਾਈ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਉਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਮੋਨੋਪੋਲੀ ਦਿੱਲੀ 'ਚ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬਣਾਈ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਿਸੋਦੀਆ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਨ। ਹੁਣ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ CBI ਦਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਰੇਡ ਹੋਇਆ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਦੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਤਿਆਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ। ਰੇਡ 'ਚੋਂ ਬੜਾ ਕੁਝ ਨਿਕਲੂਗਾ।
So the opposition clearly split wide open on a day when the Aam Aadmi Party clearly tried to position Arvind Kejriwal as the only real contender to Prime Minister Modi in the run-up to 2024. Let's move on to the other big stories of the day. As outrage grows over the release of Bilkis Bano's rapists, more disturbing details are now emerging. 5 of the 10 members of the advisory committee of the Gujarat government, which recommended the release of the 11 convicts in the case, have links with the BJP. It was based on their recommendations that the men convicted of gang rape and murder walked out of prison on Independence Day under an outdated remission policy of the state.
A BJP hand behind the early release of 11 men convicted in the Bilkis Bano rape case. The men who were convicted of murder and gang rape during the Godhra riots and sentenced to life imprisonment were let out of prison prematurely after a jailed advisory committee recommended their release. But it has now emerged that 5 out of 10 of the members in this committee, or rather half of this committee, were linked to the BJP. This is the list of all members of the panel. It has got 5 government officials and 5 BJP members. 2 of them are MLAs, C.K. Rahulji, the party's MLA from Godhra, and the BJP MLA from Kalol, Sumanben Chauhan. The others are Vinita Lele, listed as a social worker on the document, but her social media profile shows that she is a member of the BJP. Sardar Singh Patel is another social worker that is listed as a member of the committee that recommended the release of the 11 convicts in this case. He is also said to be a member of the BJP. We in fact got his contact number from the BJP office in Godhra. Another social worker on the list is Pavan Bhai Soni. However, the BJP Gujarat's webpage shows that he is in fact a member of the state executive committee of the party. We tried speaking to Pavan Soni. After multiple calls and even a visit to his home, we finally met him at his shop at the address listed on the BJP Gujarat's website. He refused to answer any of our questions, but he did not outright deny his or the others' involvement with the committee or the BJP. आप वो कमेटी के पार्ट थे, हिस्से थे? वो मेरे बोलने से कुछ भी नहीं है 2 दिन से। नहीं, लेकिन आप वो कमेटी के हिस्से थे कि नहीं सर? वो जरा थोड़े आप चेक करवा लीजिए, मेरे से बात नहीं करना। मैं वो हिस्से में नहीं कहना, इसलिए मैंने आपको बोला फालतू आप गोल गोल घूमो, मैं आपको गोल घूमो। सर मैं वही ना, आप सोचिए ना, मैं इतनी दूर से आई हूँ तो बहुत दिनों के लिए तो नहीं आऊंगी ना, इसीलिए जस्ट ये कंफर्म करना था कि आप वो कमेटी के हिस्से थे कि नहीं। जो बाजू में जेल है, कलेक्टर ऑफिस में भी है, उसका रिकॉर्ड आप चेक कर लीजिए। आप वो कमेटी के हिस्से थे या विनीता लेले जी, सरदार सिंह बारिया पटेल जी, ये भी उस कमेटी के हिस्से थे? मुझे तो नहीं मालूम है, मेरे से बार-बार एक बार मैंने आपको बोल दिया। अच्छा, आप भी भाजपा के लेकिन एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर तो हैं, स्टेट एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर तो हैं। आपका तो मुझे, क्योंकि आपका नंबर मुझे बीजेपी के वेबसाइट से ही मिला था उनके, तो भाजपा के हिस्से तो आप हैं। The government officials on the panel said they went by the rules. But the sizable presence of the BJP will only intensify criticism of a political hand behind the release of the men. With camera person Xavier Thomas, this is Mariam Alavi for NDTV.
Imagine this, a 10,000 square feet bungalow featuring a swimming pool, a jacuzzi and a bar, 4 other houses, cash, jewellery, luxury cars, all seized by officials during raids in Madhya Pradesh's Jabalpur. Here's the twist in the tale. This wasn't an affluent businessman or even a highly placed politician being raided, but a regional transport officer in the state government who's amassed assets which are completely disproportionate to his 65,000 rupees a month salary. Anurag Wari gets us the details.
A swimming pool, jacuzzi and a minibar discovered after a raid by officials in Madhya Pradesh, not at the residence of a multimillionaire, but that of Santosh Pal, a Madhya Pradesh government official drawing 65,000 rupees per month salary. Pal works as a regional transport officer, supervising vehicle permits and driving licenses, among other things, in the Jabalpur district.
अभी तो जांच में आया था कि शिकायत आई थी, इसका सत्यापन कराया गया था। उस शिकायत सत्यापन पर यह पाया गया था कि जो इनके और उनकी पत्नी के आय के वैध स्रोत हैं, उसकी तुलना में लगभग 650% संपत्ति इनके द्वारा अर्जित की गई है और व्यय किया गया है।
The raid at Pal's residence were conducted after numerous complaints of corruption against him in the last few months. Officials from the state's Economic Offences Wing say they have found rupees 16 lakh cash, expensive jewellery, luxury cars and papers of 4 more houses and 1 farmhouse in Pal's name. Pal's wife is a clerk at the same office. A case has been registered against the couple under the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. Ongoing probe has revealed that the couple, particularly the ARTO, had links with the power corridor in the state. In Bhopal, with camera person Rizwan Khan and Sanjeev Chaudhary, Anurag Bari for NDTV.